Leading a technical team is why we're here. My circus, my monkeys. We'll start off with a little bit of an introduction. I am Jerry Vasquez. I cooked for probably about 14, 15 years or so. Went to college on a handful of music scholarships. Studied music there for a while. I had a bunch of odd jobs at the time. I took a little bit of time off. Mom wasn't doing great, so I had to do a bunch of work, warehouses. I had that terrible construction job where I held the slow sign for 8 hours a day in the middle of June. Oh God, that was awful. I landscaping. I did all sorts of just odd jobs, a bunch of stuff here and there. Cooked the entire time that I was in school. Eventually, chef came up to me and told me that he thought I'd be a good candidate for culinary arts. He cursed at me. He didn't say it like that. But eventually he got to about, or maybe I should say go to a culinary school. And my job paid for it, so that was pretty sweet. I went and I got my degree in hospitality. Eventually, like I said, I cooked for a long time, Indianapolis, Chicago. I cooked all over Michigan, all over a bunch of different places. I was actually the chef for a minor league baseball team for a while, which was kind of fun. It was a good time. Learned a bunch of stuff. After a bit, I took a job in doing some high-end catering and decided that it'd be nice to go home smelling the same way as it did when I punched in. So I went back to school, got a degree in programming, and then a buddy of mine told me about a gig up there, first one at a place called Liquid Web, which is a medium-ish, they're getting a little bit bigger now, web hoster in Lansing, Michigan. So I went and applied. No idea how I got in, completely bullshitted my way through that entire hiring process. They hired me nonetheless. I took a little bit of time off of school, put my nose down, learned as much about Linux as I could. A few months in, they put me onto the enterprise team. After that, I was a supervisor for a while, had leadership qualities. Decided that if any of you guys are leaders here, you kind of see it. Sometimes, after a while, your tech starts to atrophy when you've been doing the bean counting for a while. So I wanted to go back into tech. Went to the networking team, got a CCNA, started my CCNP, was promoted to leadership there, eventually became the manager for the operations team, the director for operations engineering and security. So I did a bunch of good stuff there. And now I work at MSU at the Facility for Rare Isotope Beams. That's Michigan State University. The Facility for Rare Isotope Beams, which is a linear particle accelerator. I am a network and Linux administrator there. Technically, my job title is information technologist. It's just a bunch of consonants and vowels that really doesn't say anything about the actual position or its responsibilities, whatever. But that's what I do. And so that's me. Over the time, I've learned a whole bunch of stuff about leadership in the different positions that I've been in, and I kind of gleaned a few little hits and points here that I've planned to give to you guys, but I figured I'd kind of start out by asking you guys, why we're here. Are any of you guys currently, or have you been leaders in the past in your positions? Three whole people, four whole people, five, okay, and now that I count six, now that I count them, people decide to start, okay, I guess I'll be involved. This is gonna be a good talk, yeah, so great. House dog duration, 5 years or more? And a couple of you, nice, 10 years or more? Okay, still a couple of you. 15, 20 years? Okay, cool. I think I've only gotten to 20 years once before. Not as intimidating. All right, cool. So yes, we're gonna kind of start at the beginning with some of the minor concepts and then move on, and I hope that I don't bore you guys who have been around for a good long time. In general, when we talk about leadership, we talk about a couple of responsibilities, primarily two of them. Depending on who you ask, they'll tell you which one is more important. I don't think one is more important. The first one I always start with is your responsibility to your team. You are in charge of a group of folks, and they're going to talk to you, you're going to talk to them, and you're going to be the barrier between them and the rest of the outside company. You have to garner trust with them, you have to remove obstacles for them. Maintain the morale of your team, set and track goals, make sure that they're actually growing and becoming and producing, not just for your team, but also becoming more valuable in the general industry and outside of there so that they can move on at some point and do well for them. And that's something that you should aim for when they leave your team. It's a great thing that they're off to bigger and better stuff. Organize and prioritize the things that are coming in, making sure that your team is maintaining some cohesiveness internally. Along with the responsibility that you have to the team, where you're defending them from the outside world, you also have a responsibility to the company because we all got to pay our bills, man. We have to maintain resource allocation, maintain deliverables. Dude, people, when you get to a leadership spot, people are expensive. You got to maintain budgets. You got to watch out for your deadlines. Everybody loves that call in the middle of the night. Team expectations outside. What is this team producing? What are they not producing? And understanding the key initiatives to your company. That's going to be your job and not theirs because it's your job to put that into their brain. So we got lots of crazy responsibilities as a leader. And so just because you have all of those responsibilities doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy to convey them. In all reality, leading a team revolves around the communication that you have. So there's this really like complex and wild thing that happens with humans where we're able to take thoughts inside of our brain and use language to put those thoughts in someone else's brain. And if you think about the logistics of that, that's pretty freaking wild. And so with reality, when we're talking about things like key initiatives and the drivers and the stuff that we're trying to do to maintain our team's cohesiveness, the success of your team in reality hinges on your ability to clearly convey those thoughts so that other people can actually get them and move forward with them. So we got 2 key points here. I need you guys to pay attention. I put that up there because I could see you guys all raised your hand. Oh, I'm a leader. That means you're probably answering emails. You're probably looking at Slack. You're probably doing, I can totally multi. Yeah, look at you, put your damn phone down. See, all right, I already got you guys. I got you. It's okay. So these are the real big things. 2 key points to remember. If I take off, dude out there with a funny hat that talked really fast, these are the 2 things that you got to remember. People are going to communicate based on their personality type, all right? And in order to communicate effectively, you have to understand that those personality types have their own language. You have to use that language to actually communicate with those folks. All right, so these are going to be the 2 things that we're going to break into. So let's dive into those things specifically. So, let's put people in boxes. That's my very favorite thing to do, right? Okay, so in order to identify the different personalities, we're just going to kind of run through there and classify them. There is a little bit of housekeeping that we have to do before we jump into this portion, which is what we're going to be using is called the True Colors Personality Profile. You can go online and find it if you Google it. There's a little test that you can take. It's pretty cool. What we have there, however, is this concept that, and this is incredibly boiled down, it's based off Myers-Briggs type indicator and the big 5 personality models, but it's not granular, it's super simplified. And it says that, for the most part, people are broken up into 4 different personality types. Now, there's gonna be some overlap, so you'll find that people, have this color and that color and that color. So like I said, just keep that in mind, a little bit of a grain of salt there, that there's going to be some overlap. It's not granular. However, it does work. It's just a really quick indicator as we're trying to look at personality types. So we're going to color our boxes just to make sure that everything is nice and cool. We got our orange folks, which are going to be goal-oriented. We've got our green folks that are procedure-oriented, yellow people that are going to be people-oriented, and then our blue creative types. So let's get into some of the granular ideas about those things, even though I just told you that it wasn't going to be granular. So our goal-oriented people. As I'm going through these, I want you guys to think about yourself and the folks that have been around you and with whom you've worked, because we're going to laugh about all of them. So our goal-oriented people, we have folks that are, all they're thinking about is the end result. They are completing tasks. They're doing so concisely. They're making very decisive decisions. They're very confident in the decisions that they make. Even if they have no idea what the hell they're talking about, they're still going to lead forward, making sure everybody is behind them, super confident. They're going to prioritize everything because obviously I know the right way to do things, right? That can be some pretty good stuff. Comes with a few drawbacks. You got a couple drawbacks. You got a couple of folks that like to lead with their chest and talk about it. They can be very brash. And that's kind of a difficult thing to deal with on occasion. Incredibly opinionated because, duh, my opinion is a right one. Why aren't you guys thinking like me? And that means when they have prioritized this stuff and they're taking all this, working with all this confidence, and they're talking to you with this big, deep voice as deep as they can, they don't give a damn about what you think or what you feel sometimes. These aren't good and bad qualities, I want to be clear. There's a gradient. You can have extremes on one side or the other, and you can have something in the middle of the road. But still, insensitivity can be a little bit difficult to deal with. So can competitiveness. When you get these folks, these type of personalities in a room together, they're always competing for who's got the bigger personality, fastest car, makes the most money, has the most influence. But whatever it is, you always end up with this sort of stuff that's happening. When we communicate with these folks, we have to be clear and prioritize our goal and our success. You don't walk up to an orange person, you don't say, oh, yesterday my dog fell down the stairs and it was really cute, or, I created this cool thing and I was wondering, no, we're talking about goals, we're talking about priorities, we're talking about results. We're doing so quickly, we're doing so succinctly, we're doing so based in facts and with confidence. That's how you deal with these people, because that's what they respect, that's the language that they speak. Now, How many yellow, orange people do we have in the audience? Are they pointing at each other? Yes, I'm getting a finger. I'm getting people raise their hands. I'm getting accusations. This is good. Our orange people. I always start out with those guys because you guys think you're the most important. They get right. My favorite part is like these are the folks that they have the natural leadership quality because they're super confident. Who knows? Okay, you can't, right. Thank you. Exactly. Well, maybe. Who knows? It could be a good thing. Let's go on to our next color. Our next color is our green people. Our green people are procedure-oriented. Our procedure-oriented people are incredibly precise with the things that they do because they understand for some strange reason that everything follows a list that is from top to bottom, and you start at the top and then you move down. They are consistent people. They are detailed people. They are organized people. They know the right way to do it. Like my mom. God, I love her to death. Oh my God, I love my mama to death. I moved out the house, and she came over, and I was doing laundry because, mom comes over, you got to clean the place up. And I folded all the towels, and I set them down, and she came and she said, oh, Mijo, these aren't folded right, and took them all apart and refolded them. And we get those folks with these green folks because the procedure is what's important. You end up getting folks in a team, and you have that one dude or person, whomever, that wants to accept all your work, look it over, and then, but it could be done this way, and then do all your work over again, right? And it can be very, very frustrating, but this can also be good things on the pro side. On the con side, you occasionally run into people who tend to be solitary. Why? Because if I'm over here doing my thing, then it's being done correctly, and I don't have to redo somebody else's work who did it wrong. This is my work. I'm keeping a hold of it. My towels. I'm very territorial. Perfection. We found the green person. We found the green person. We are perfectionists. Why is there perfectionist? Because it's going to be perfect so long as I start at the top. And they can be contentious. Why are we contentious? Because I know the right way to do it. I have followed this procedure this whole time. It is correct. When we communicate with these folks, it is important to limit the conversation. They do not care about what's going on in your life. All they care about is what's 1, 2, 3. So when you talk to them, we talk about lists, and we define the individual personal goals, not goals in general like we did with the yellow people. We're going to say, this is the first thing we're going to do this, and then this is the next thing, and you get these workhorses that just love to fly through their lists. One cool thing, when you're talking to a green person, and you explain what's going on, and you give them this detailed list, they make a list too. Listen to the list, this guy. Listen to the list, because that's going to mean that they're going to start garnering some respect from these people when they came up through this and you actually pay attention to it. How many green? We already. We got some green people in here. How about at work or at home or wherever? Yeah, you can think about some green personalities there, right? Cool. Let's keep going. We're going to talk about our yellow-oriented people. Oh, there we go. This is a good crowd. Though our oriented yellow people are our rainbows and dolphins people that love all of these folks. They're so optimistic and personable. They like to make sure that they know a little bit about somebody else, and they make sure that they know how this other person drinks their coffee, and everybody's cooperative, and they like to express themselves, and when we're all going to get together, we're going to do this thing, and then we're going to just celebrate, and we're going to have drinks, we're going to jump into this cuddle pile, and everything's going to be great, right? Because all these folks are cool. That's great. Because if you have yellow people on your team, you have folks that have a tendency to get the team together. And that's cool. Also, because you're so concerned with the other people around you, means you can be swayed really quickly. And you become indecisive. I have to consider what these other folks are thinking about all of a sudden. You be self-deflating, self-defeating. Because holy shit, what are they going to think about when I said this thing? It's not just the goal. It's not the procedure. It's how I'm being perceived most often. Which makes them distracted, and they're concerned with the relationships that are going around you and the reactions of the people that are happening. How do we communicate with a yellow person? First, you start with conversation. Don't jump in with facts. Don't jump in with lists. Sit down and tell them a little bit about yourself. Start with a joke.
You talk about your job with yellow people?
There you go, yeah. Talk about how your other folks on the team, right? Make conversation. Use some energy like I've been doing. I've been trying to be the person. I've been trying to anthropomorphize the colors a little bit while I'm up here. Some energy, some humor. Make sure when you're discussing the goal of whatever you're talking about, and especially when you're giving instruction or direction, that the goal is the way that we're gonna look when we're done with this. It's not we're gonna get this done so we can move on to something else like a green person. It's not we're gonna get this done because this is how we have to do it with a red person. We're getting this done, and then we're gonna get some kudos, and then we're gonna get some praise, and then our team's gonna look great, and then we're gonna be on top of stuff. That's how we have to communicate with these folks. Yellow guys. Any yellow folks in here? Yeah, a couple of them. People-y, sales folks. There's some overlap. I feel like
I'm kind of relaxed.
Yeah, absolutely. We will be. You will be. You'll find these.
That's what yellow tomorrow.
Later on, we'll discuss a little bit, too, about how sometimes you're this color and then some other times you're this color based on the folks around you. Or the way you woke up. Whether or not I ate dinner makes me a very, very red person. Okay, so next one. Last one. Groups are blue, creativity folks, creative and kind of relationshipy, but they're the folks that like to express themselves. They're agreeable. They create stuff, and it comes together so quickly and so concisely. They are so good at diffusing conflict, because sometimes a red person just do it because I said, a green person just do it because these are the steps to do it. A yellow person, we can all get along, but a blue person will come in with creativity and come up with a whole different solution that you didn't even think about, and it's awesome. And I mean, and when they feel safe and they feel like they're being valued and they're respected in the team, they're also incredibly loyal, way more loyal than the red person who wants to jump outside, way more loyal than the, orange person that wants to jump out, way more loyal than the green person who only cares about the procedure, or the orange or the yellow person who cares about other folks. They care about just what's happening because I get to express myself safely. That also makes it that they're a little sensitive about the things that are going around them. They have a tendency to play devil's advocate. Even though we have a solution, we could also do this other thing. Now we got to start all over and consider these other folks, right? That makes them easily swayed. And because they're presenting, just like an artist out there, because they're presenting something that they've created, this idea, they're sensitive about their creation. And if you attack it, unintentionally or intentionally, they become timid and withdraw, and you have to be careful about those things. When you communicate with a blue person, you want to chat them up a little bit first. Make sure that they feel a little bit comfortable. Don't dominate the conversation. Don't come to a blue person with a red personality, or send the red person to talk to the blue person, because that's just going to squash everything, right? Thank you. I'm sorry. So in the tests, if you go online, you can find the tests. They call them orange people, and the blue ones they call gold people. No, it just doesn't show up good on my slides. It's easier to do with this one, so I changed that to orange. Sorry about that. Yeah. So yeah, our blue guys, they're gonna watch for, and you need to watch for also body cues and the way that they inflect with their voice. You have to be incredibly sincere. Think about them kind of like sketch artists. These guys are great for this thing in particular. When you send them like to talk to a client or to somebody else, you'll find that they can sit down in front of somebody where this other person just word vomit, just all these crazy things, and they can take all this in, and they can say, okay, this is what they actually wanted. Get away with all the superfluous stuff and then actually get down to the soul of this. We got some blue folks in here. We got, oh, look at you, a couple of blue guys. Yeah, see, this is great. This is awesome. Okay, good. And we can think about some blue folks that we need too. So let's keep on moving. I'm going to give you guys some hints and tips on how to have conversations with your different personalities within your team. This is good stuff. When you're talking to a red person, talk nothing but facts. Get all your facts. Do all your homework. Have your facts ready. But never show them everything you have. Anytime that you talk to a red person, you are going to have questions, and they're going to say, hey, well, what about this thing? And if you can reach into your back pocket and pull out the answer that has been researched already to that red person, you're instantly going to be able to be, like you see, prepared. Yeah, prepared. They're testing you with these questions. You have to be ready for them. When you're talking to your green person, pretend you are a person interviewing them, like for a magazine or for a TV show, because they think, they are certain that they are smarter than you. And if you treat them like that, just a little bit of an ego stroke, and you let them give you the list, it'll come out that way. Lay out what you're doing, and then, like I said earlier, repeat it back to them, kind of like it's an article, and give them a chance to clarify their list for you, and you'll get a lot of respect from them immediately. Our yellow ones, our people-y folks. I don't know what it is about people dudes, but for some reason, these people are into one thing: archery, lo-fi music, cars, something, it's usually obscure too, like this incredibly specific 80s type of electronic music. I don't know what it is, but they all like one thing. Do a little reconnaissance and figure it out, and then do some research. And when you talk to them, talk about that thing that they like. It'll be able to hold up your side of the conversation. You'll instantly garner some of that respect from them because they're matching their personality type. And our blue folks. Blue folks are incredibly loyal when they feel safe. So share a little secret with them. Nothing weird. No, when I was in college. No, I was in college before I got married. No. You're not trying to implicate yourself in anything. It's my wife's birthday next week, I have to go and see my kid perform in a play, and oh my God, they screech, but I love them, and I got to go do, some little thing about it. And that'll build up a little bit of loyalty, a little trust for them. They're creative, though. Always remember, for the love of everything, have in your pocket a project. They are so creative, and they have all this creative energy, and if you do not give them something to hone in on with their creativity, they're going to become creative when you already have a solution and you have a team driving in one direction. They're going to tear it all up, and they don't mean to, and you don't want to check them. That's just who they are. That's just their personality. Everybody has their own personality, and they're born this way. Now, anytime I tell that part, people ask me, Jerry, shit, isn't that just manipulating people? Short answer, it is not. These are, I love you, wifey. These are the way that these folks are practically, so the current psychological literature, blah, 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 I like to read a bunch of stuff, says that we're not exactly sure when, but it's either in utero or shortly thereafter that you develop the bulk of your personality. So these are folks, for all intents and purposes, are born this way. It's just who they are. So you're not being manipulative when you talk to them in their native language. You can be manipulative with this, with this information. And some of you guys, at least one of you guys is going to go out there and use it for nefarious purposes. I'm not going to judge you, whatever, get your money, man. But, but, in general, so long as you're not intentionally trying to be manipulative and intentionally trying to be nefarious, no, this is not. It's not bad for me to be a yellow person or a sort of a yellowish, bluish person, and for my wife to come up to me and say, hey, sweetheart, how's your day? How are you doing? Hey, do you think you could do this thing for me? That's not her manipulating me. She's not doing it to trick me. She also knows that if she comes up, you're going to do this thing, that's not going to work. All we're going to do is fight. There's nothing wrong with that, but nothing wrong in a relationship, which is a relationship, individuals, a whole team, whatever. Being right doesn't make peace. Knowing how to communicate what we have so we can all moving forward is what actually works. Cool? Let us move on. Continue to go on. So your team. We talked about the individual people. We talked about ourselves and the folks that are around us. Now let's talk about a unit. Your team as a unit has its own personality. This is the way that people are going to perceive your personality from outside is going to depend on the way that you lead your team and the individual decisions that you make for your team as you present them to the rest of the company. You have to remember that if you are trying to be a yellow team, you're trying to seem people-oriented. If you're trying to seem, like you'll see this in my domain, networking and security specifically, try to present a very red personality. Because when it comes to, I don't know what it is about security, you have to be really stringent with these things, right? But other teams that are marketing, that are kind of creativity-based, or sales that are kind of, or that are kind of people-y based. However it is that you're trying to present your team, there's going to be you choosing to present that. If you don't choose to make those, if you don't make those decisions, you don't choose your personality and present it, it's going to come out nonetheless. And it won't necessarily be the type of presenting face that you're looking to present. And the other thing, when you do decide how you're going to present your team, you have to remember that everybody is going to see both the pros and the cons for your team. Yes, we're going to be quick and decisive and concise, but we're also going to be brash and insensitive and sometimes lead with no. And you have to remember, when you're positioning yourself within your greater organization, these are the types of things that are presented to your team. How do you actually want to be seen? Cool? So, here's one crazy thing. When we come down to the individuals on our team, it is important for us to try, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Peter Principle. It's an old concept that says, at some point, especially in corporate businesses, at some point, a person will be continually promoted to the point of failure. They'll get to a point to where they just get more responsibility, get more responsibility, get more responsibility, and then it's too much responsibility, and it's a bit catastrophic. When we're talking about their business skills, when we're talking about the types of skills of individuals and humans, you have, for the most part, two different types. You got your business skills, and you have your technical skills. They used to be called soft and hard skills. Coding isn't necessarily difficult to some people. For some people it is. That could be a hard skill. In the past, it was talking publicly was a soft skill. But for some folks, that's absolutely terrifying. That's not soft, right? So when it comes to these types of skills, we have our natural inclinations towards stuff, the businessy skills, the patterns of behavior that you have, the predictable emotional response, the stuff that comes out the way that you talk to people. And then you got your technical skills, which are the skills that you are learning in your practice, your routing protocols and your codes that you do, and the way that you maintain your data analysis and all of that cool stuff. Each individual personality, this is devoid of those personalities. These are the types of skills that come from these individual humans. So not just knowing the personality, that's going to allow you to speak to those people, but knowing the different skills that they have and the weaknesses and strength that they have allows you to start to build up your team from the bottom up. Here's one of the cool things, here's one of the crazy things that I've started to notice. For some strange reason, it's because they're orange. For the orange personalities think that they should be the ones in leadership. Right? And you find that, especially in up and higher leadership all the time. You find these orange, these very concise, very confident, these very, beating your chest sort of personalities. And I don't know if you notice, every time I talk, I'm taking a step towards you guys as I'm trying, because that's the type of personality that's coming out here, right? That red personality, for some reason, that red personality has been seen as concise and has been seen as quick to make decisions, and it's been seen as a natural leader. You are not a natural leader. Personalities do not make leaders, all right? That's something that everybody in this room that's going to be a leader or is a leader has to understand. Your leadership is a choice that you have made. It is not a thing with which you are born. You have chosen to take on the responsibility of the people behind you and to intentionally place yourself between them and the rest of the organization outside so that they can do their work and that you can present what's done, what's finished afterwards. Cool? Leadership is a role for caretakers. If you don't want to be a caretaker, then you don't actually want to be a leader. It's something that your team has to be more than you. Your team has to be a legacy. If you don't start, I don't want to say that because that's actually some people's goal is to just get real high up in the company and the hell with the people behind me. That's fine. Like I said, you want to use these for nefarious purposes and go off and be a bad guy. I don't care. Get your money. I'm not here to judge. But it is a choice that we are making nonetheless, right? Your team is more than you. Our job is to meet the team. Don't make the team rise up to us. Make sure that in the back, the folks that we're taking care of are being taken care of. Celebrate when they make these little things. Celebrate when they leave if they find something great. Yeah, it kind of sucks, man, but still, I've had a hand in helping somebody get better. Okay, let's get into ICT specifically now. So we've talked about people, we've talked about personalities, and the way that we're going to talk, and the way that they talk to folks, and the communication that we have. IT in particular. So I found that when folks when they say, we're in IT, especially like a long time ago, decades ago, IT was computer stuff. IT was networking and coding and anything that had to do with the keyboard, because keyboards were specifically computer things. But now, you got a keyboard, every single one of you has a keyboard in your pocket. You're not just a computer person. That doesn't make IT anymore. Computers got all sorts of crazy stuff in it. IT has your HR groups. IT has your marketing groups and your graphic designers. IT also has coders and also has QA people that just like to go off and break things every so often, which is actually kind of a great gig, right? But you got all these folks around, and each one has one of those mindsets in them. They're not just focusing with just one color all the time just because they're IT people. So when you communicate specifically and effectively with them, that's how you're going to make or break the team that you have, right? So, get into the tech folk just a little bit more. Especially like in a situation like this where we're in a college, you got these young folks, IT, I don't know what it is. I think it's because they're kind of born with it, but you get really, really young people that are entering into the IT field. And that's great, man. I mean, you got these kids that were born into tech. You had these kids that were like playing with phones when they were kids, so that they know their way around stuff. They get comfortable with the technology super quickly. They can adjust for change, because nowadays, every 6 months there's a whole new architecture that comes out. Every 3 years, whatever you have in your pocket is absolutely obsolete and slow, right? So you got to be able to move quickly with these things, and the young folks can do that. We were all young. Something that I like to say is, if you didn't think that you were an idiot when you were a kid, you're probably still an idiot. So, we're distractible. They were super distractible when you were young. Young folks are also continue to be distractible. You know, you got the water cooler talk, and somebody's always, sweet Jesus, somebody's always trying to start a relationship right in the middle of while you're trying to do a project, and it always blows up. They have a tendency to be lax with their responsibilities. They don't have as much experience as the folks that are a little bit more tenured, like myself and some of us that are in here are. That's not their fault. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a good thing. We have the ability to come in at this age and at this point where we can help to build these folks up and get better at their position, so long as we're doing our damnedest to put them forward and actually be the team leader that they need. This can be a very good thing. You just gotta keep an eye on some of the other silly stuff that comes along with it. Tech just draws in super intelligent people. Yeah, I don't know if it's because you like to read or what's going on, but these folks, they just love learning. They like to I still don't do it, but like staring at white papers and like reading documentation and figuring stuff out. And that's fantastic. They become these experts like in their fields so quickly, it just kind of natural for them. I don't know exactly what it is, but for some reason there's this balance. And as your tech skills go up, your interpersonal skills tend to go down, and the other way around, right? So they occasionally struggle with interpersonal skills. They like to throw out jargon, acronyms. Jesus, I love working in networking so long, I don't need any more acronyms. I don't know why these kids like to shout lull and fail instead of actually laughing about stuff. Like there's this really strange, like there's a subculture that happens, like being quiet and down and like just the light from your monitor illuminating your keys. But nonetheless, even with those things, super intelligent people anybody really, it doesn't matter the level of intelligence, you can find a place in the company for them, right? This is a great person to use as long as you're aware of what's going on and how they actually do stuff. Speaking of how they do stuff and how we talk to people, we've got a green personality types. I think it's because coding and logic and procedure, but for some reason you get tons and tons of green personality types where you get like one line after one line after one line. Those are the types of people that are in there. And so you have to remember, obviously, how to talk to them, but also the pros and cons about your green folks. They can be super precise, super concise. They always know exactly how to do it. Dude, green people are workhorses. They like to go through their list. If they got a list in front of them, they just bam, bam, bam. They lose track of whatever's going on, and they just want to get down to the bottom of their list, and that's fantastic. Don't forget the cons. Solitary, territorial, perfectionist. Come over to my damn house and unfold my towel one more time. I swear for Jesus, one more time. Arrogant, for some reason. If I have a list, a bullet-pointed list, I should be the one that's in charge of stuff. That's okay. Everybody's got a part to play. It doesn't matter your tenure, your experience. I'm a pawn on a chessboard. Pawn can still win the game, right? As long as we play our pieces for our people correctly as we're moving towards that. So that's coming up to the end of my discussion here. Team building, team leadership is a choice. You have to choose to be that person that's going to stand in front of your team, in between them and the rest of your client, give them some sense of security, give them some sense of safety, help them instill in them that they have actual value in the company so that they can produce and that we can do our jobs and present, right? It's never easy when there was an outage, when there was some downtime, when something freaking busted and they call you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you gotta stand in front of leadership. Okay, Jerry, what happened? Who was it? It wasn't Jeff, it wasn't Nick, it wasn't John. Our team did this thing. I take responsibility. We're gonna work forward, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna move toward together. No name dropping, it's our team. If they don't feel safe, what the hell are they doing working for us? We all know the old adage, right? You don't quit a job, you quit a leader. Which leader are we going to choose to be as we move forward to that, right? So, that is about what I had. Being able to effectively communicate to your team and to the other teams is going to afford you the ability to garner some trust with your people. And the higher level of confidence and the fewer obstructions you have are going to move your teams forward towards your company's key initiatives. The way that we present ourselves and our team and the way that we take in that stuff and then describe it to our team behind us is going to be the difference between a high level of success or absolute abysmal cascading failure, because we've all been there in the past. So I rushed through that. Yes, cool, 35 minutes. I rushed through that one. that is what I had today. I hope some folks kind of learned something, and I am happy to take some questions from anybody if you got anything.
Having a really shitty day,
Oh Lord, tell me about it.
or you just had like a really rough night, and the next day there's like a big project, and you have to like be there for your team. And what are some kind of strategies to compartmentalize, and or is it sometimes okay to show like vulnerability, like maybe you know what I'm saying? What's the balance there?
Bad days in particular? Well, what's the balance there when you're trying to show to your team? Okay, so there is absolutely something about exhibiting some level of confidence in your team. To be very clear, confidence and vulnerability are not mutually exclusive, nor are the opposite of one another. You can show a level of vulnerability and still remain confident about what's going on, and these people can vote it. To be completely honest.
Because you're human.
Exactly. You're human, so are they. We can connect on a human level. We can do this together. You will find that there are some personality types that will tend to that a little bit more. I talked about our blue folks and our yellow folks in particular. They'll see your vulnerability and they'll empathize with it very quickly. You got to be careful with your red folks and your green folks because, orange folks and your green folks. Your orange folks and your green folks, because they have a tendency to look at the confidence and the assertiveness and see that as that's the source of their safety. Like if somebody's secure and they're quick and they can do it, then they're the ones that are going to be able to protect me. There's an interesting thing that happens when you're talking to a group. We talked about these individual colors and the types of personality types that we have for individuals. And you guys ever see Men in Black? Yeah, there's a line in there. Tommy Lee Jones is talking to Will Smith. Will Smith before he slapped the shit out of Chris Rock in front of God and everybody. He says, so why don't you tell folks about the aliens? People can handle this. And Tommy Jones says, a person can handle this. People are jumpy, scary, terrifying, dangerous animals, and you know it. And so it's the same thing when you're talking to a group of people. There's this mindset that happens when you're speaking to a group, including your team. You don't get granular colors with a group. You get one of two things. Actually, this is a whole different module I talk about in a different talk. But you get, so I'm going to simplify it. You get either agreeable group or an argumentative group. And so when you're talking to your team, you got to kind of suss out whether or not you're going to be which personality type that group is taking, and then meet that one. When you're talking to a less agreeable team, a bunch of red folks, a bunch of green folks, columnists, maybe they're a little bit aggravated, like you were saying, and you're a little bit aggravated. You lead with first the facts. The hell with the Aristotelian logic. No procedures, no precedents. Just the conclusion first, and then back it up afterwards. And then once we get on the team, we can start to be a little bit more agreeable. So yeah, showing a little bit of vulnerability is fine. Knowing your team is going to help you understand exactly when to kind of trade off on those things. Being incredibly frustrated does not help it. In the kitchen, everybody knew I'm going to go take a smoke break. And you didn't even have to smoke. Sometimes it just meant that you were gonna, oh Jesus, I did this so many times. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever had one of those shit jobs where I just go into the restroom and sit down on the toilet. Don't even pull your pants on, just sit down. Oh God, Jesus, are you freaking kidding me? Yes, sometimes you just need to remove yourself, exactly, because the confidence, vulnerability and confidence is always going to be exhibited when you have a level of control over yourself. So blowing up, that's going to diminish the confidence. Doesn't matter the color that you're meeting up with. So take a minute, take a breath. Remember that no matter what happens, it'll be fine. I can still pay my bills even if I got to go somewhere else. Absolute worst case scenario. Right now is right now, and I can come out and we can present what we have to talk about. Cool?
Thank you.
Of course, sir.
They support you anyway, right?
Right.
So you talk about communicating with each personality, and I find that great. That same empathy, right? Like, so people think that they are in the right way.
Sure.
What about the communication across team members?
Ooh, individual team members talking to team members.
I mean, conflicts, right? Because
Yes.
we know there are different people, sneaky people, and sometimes it's negative to talk about it, but it does exist.
Yes.
And it's a reality, and it can mess up projects. How do you deal with that?
First off, don't try to avoid it. Letting it hide is going to just make it get a little bit bigger. And this is my personal opinion, to some of the experience that I found. So, you find your own way also. Don't try to avoid it. I found that people have a tendency to be a little bit more receptive when there's a whole group of people around them and then they're kind of exposed and vulnerable themselves. So one thing that I've tried to do, so long as it's not a really bad situation, because sometimes if it's a really bad situation, you just get the hell out, we have to talk about that. We all need to cool down. But if it's not a terrible situation, when we're in a group meeting, hell, bring it up, man. And with the rest of the group, we're human beings, we're social animals, like dogs, like pack dogs. You know, you get one really aggressive dog and you introduce them to a calm pack of dogs, they'll calm down too. The energy of the group will start to quell things. So you'll find that, you know, if you kind of discuss it out in front of folks and you know, handle it that way. Quite often, again, so long as the conflict isn't very bad, removing yourself from the situation might allow a little bit more clear communication between your teammates also. We all have a boss. We all like to bitch about our boss. When you're the leader of a team, you're the boss. They want to bitch about you. So give them a place to do it, right? Give them a Slack channel, give them a spot, you know, get folks together, and then exit a little bit and let them kind of come together every so often and start to build up. You have a team, you build it up, you're right, there's always going to be some conflict. Usually you'll find that it's going to be, you know, as long as, you know, there's a bunch of folks around, folks will tend to quell. On occasion though, if it's heated, I worked in the kitchen, man, I've literally punched my boss in the face in the past. I was a kid, it was stupid, I don't say go and do that, but you know, that's the sort of thing that's happened. Sometimes it's gotten so bad that we have to separate and we have to like recenter and try to get to the crowd. Okay, what is happening? Why is this happening? And then try to you know, figure out what was going on there. And ultimately, on occasion, you gotta pull out your red personality and beat your chest a little bit, like, look, we're done with this. We move on now, you know, that sort of stuff. Conflict is very difficult. Right, yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Usually you'll find that it's blue people don't like a lot of conflict. It'll come out and then it'll kind of dissipate. Yellow people, they don't mind a little conflict, but it's usually quiet and nitpicky, you know, in the background. Green folks, they're gonna get into it, and then they're gonna be like, you know what, screw this, I'm taking care of my own priority list. The red folks, those are the ones that are gonna want it, they're the ones that are, orange. Yeah, they're the ones that are gonna want to be beating their chest and get out there. So those are the ones that you might need to get in between. But you know, keep an eye on those folks, so you can start to suss that out a little bit. Ma'am.
Your communication style with the red personality types about holding things back. Personally, I would develop a lot of trust issues if I knew you were always holding something back. So what type of things are you holding back?
Just little bitty facts. So what's one thing that I did recently? I was given a project where I had to come up with a new web hosting platform. And so, so we were going to be moving one of our internal sites out to an external site. And so I found all of you're a blue person, right?
Oh, I'm very red.
Oh, you're very red. Oh, fan.
I'm probably ultimate basically.
Oh, lovely. Okay. That's why it bothers you so much.
Yes.
I know. Okay, so I kind of don't want to tell you. Okay, right, exactly. Right. It's not a damaging thing, to be very clear. I'm not going to tell you, you know, like something that could cause serious problems. Usually what I mean by holding back a couple of facts is I'll go out and I'll do some research and I will tell you, like I was talking about this one project I had, my boss is a bit of a red character. Or orange. So I had the names of the places, I had the general cost, because those are the big things that they want to know, and I had the uptime stuff that they had to know. I also already talked to each one of them like we were going to start migrating, so I understood the process and I understood the timeline that they had. And so I went over to them and I said, hey, okay, so these are the things that we got. We got the names, we got some of the pros and cons that we got going, and these are definitely the prices. Okay, cool. Which one's gonna be the one that migrates a little faster? I had that, but I didn't give him that information right away. Those little, because he had to ask for it.
You don't find that the reds want to do their own research and not really.
Oh, absolutely. But they will garner you will garner a little bit of extra, yeah, the red person, yeah, he's done, yeah, like right now, you're already asking, like, what are you holding back from me? So if you do hold that, what it really does is it just shows the red personality that you're doing your best to anticipate their needs and search out the facts that they want ahead of time. That's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to find those facts ahead of time and then make sure that you have all those facts, but only present the short, concise ones right up front and let them ask for the rest of it. and then we'll be involved in it. You gotta work for it.
Manager who has no idea what questions need to be asked.
Ooh.
Yeah, you got the blue, you work for a blue.
Don't know the questions to ask. What's the other one? Oh, blue folks. I don't, something about our green folks. It's the worst. Some of the worst ones I've been in is when, and it's not their fault at all, when they're really good at the job, and so they're given a team of people. Those are different, completely different. I hope that answered your question a little bit. Okay, lovely. Any other questions?
So how do you manage innovation? Let's say you have the goal, right? You have to do it, right? And then there's another idea that may be a good idea, but is not within the time. Like, how do you manage that?
Keep notes. Write that shit down, man. Like whenever they're talking about it, especially if you have, well, actually, really any of the colors. When, in particular, blue folks, when they present something, it's kind of a concept that they have, and they're sensitive about it. Don't disregard it. Like even if you're not going to implement it, don't down talk it, don't disregard it. Like that's a good one. Let me write that down. We might not be able to get to it. Shit, we might not be able to get to it ever. But I'm going to write it down because that's a good idea. That's how you maintain it, because not all ideas are good ideas, but you don't want to disregard them all and miss something that could be good later.
What color are you?
What color are you at home?
Oh, at home I'm blue. No, I'm blue at home. I'm quiet, I'm creative, music stuff, I write and I do all that stuff. I'm kind of a homebody. When I'm out, I'm yellow, but that's actually something that kind of happens, like I'm sure you all have noticed too. Like, your personality that you show, there's like a mask that you put on, depending on to whom you're speaking. Like I have to be particularly red with my nephew when he wants to, because he's 13 years old and he wants to start, thinking he can slapbox Uncle Jerry. I'm sorry, dog, that's not how that shit works. I have to be very yellow when I'm talking to mom because, that's kind of who she is. I got to be very procedural when I talk to green when I talk to my boss, and very procedural. So it's depending on the mask that you're wearing, you will change. But at the base, I'm mostly yellow and a bit of blue. And like I said, you'll find it's not very granular, but you find some overlap. Some folks are one color and then another. Anything else? No? All right.
Well, actually, I have a question for you. So, and this is relevant for my personal leadership issues. Accountability. Obviously, the lever is compensation and employment. If you don't do the job, you will not have the job. That's like, but nobody wants to threaten. You don't want to threaten something, even imply. Because once you've reach that point in the relationship, it's really no coming back.
Don't say the words unless you mean it.
Right. So how do you create accountability without having to lever that threat?
Yep. Like, when we're working in a group, especially in a group, there's this cool thing in Agile and Scrum right now, so all of you guys are familiar, where there's this meeting and we all talk about the things that we're working toward together. Some accountability comes out when the person who is supposed to be maintaining accountability is told that they need to present to the rest of us who are all working together what it is that we're trying to put out, what it is that we're trying, and the thing for which I'm specifically responsible. So that does help, making sure that you're telling the group around you the thing for which you're responsible and where you are in it and how it's going. And ask those questions. Like I have found that it's really useful. Don't accuse and say, hey, this needs to be done, it's not getting done. Tell them, okay, that's a little behind. What can we do to help you get it better? And they're like, usually you'll find, shit, all right, that means that I'm being, I'm exposed now a little bit and I have to work a little bit. So that helps quite a bit. But you're not wrong. At some point, sometimes it comes down to like, I had an old boss or a buddy, or actually his wife's boss, they used to love to say, pip or package, man, like, get better or we'll figure out a way to get you. And sometimes it does come to that. But for the most part, I found that you can usually hit that off ahead of time by like showing some group.
Yeah, I'm definitely like green with red tendencies. So it's like for me, I'm like, here's your Jira tickets. These are when they're due.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Why are they not done yet?
You got a list.
Right. Like, they're not done yet. Yeah. I don't mind that they're not done yet. We have personal lives, things happen, but like, it's like if you don't do them at all.
That's not just you. That's all of us.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that could be a thing. Like when that's okay. So I'm noticing these are a little bit behind. Do you need some help?
Right.
Can we
That's
help
why I
together?
do not
Yeah.
understand the task.
Yeah.
Like, I can help explain it, I can do it with you once.
Be
and-
careful with that one. That's a dangerous question. Did you have something to say? Did you have something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, the other thing that, if you are in a situation where they're just not working, the question isn't, do you just not want this fucking job? The question is this not the right place for you? And when I have found, if they actually know how to do the work and they just don't do the work, and I ask them, is this not the right place for you? Either I get a very yes, you know what, I actually wanna go do magic, I don't know why I'm doing tech support. Like, cool, how can I support your exit? Like, what can we do to get there? Or I get a, you know, I do really wanna be here, I just feel like I'm not getting insert thing.
Right.
And
Good.
then we can fix it.
We can fix that.
right?
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah,
We have
getting those out there.
meetings, and one of the first questions is, right person, right seat. Are you the right person,
Yeah.
doing the right job?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good stuff. That's good stuff. Little conversation. I'm so yellow and you're all happy. Get a drink. We can cuddle. It's a good time. Anything else? No? Awesome. I'm going to be around for a bit and maybe tonight. But thanks, guys, for coming. I hope you guys all learned something. Very cool. I'll be around. Yay.